Hi, welcome to Room to Grieve podcast. We're your hosts, Cameron and Beck. Grab yourself a cuppa, find a comfortable spot, and we'll journey through grief together.
Welcome back. You're going to be really brave, aren't you? And we're going to cover Em's story today and how come we got to be in this position, all of the things that Emily so bravely went through and what happened for you guys. So I'm just going to really sit back and just let you tell your story.
I've decided to start from where it all began and not from the beginning of when she was born and all that, because I think over the next few months when we're talking about our kids, we'll be talking about the life before cancer. So I just want everybody to know what we've been through and why we're here, and sort of just a little bit more understanding of us, really. Emily was 14, working from home during COVID and just constantly falling asleep. Of course, as a mum, we just said, because you've been up all night, you've not been getting to sleep. You need an early night tonight. And so she was having her early nights and then just still falling asleep, thought nothing of it. Then she had headache for 3 days, a really bad headache. She never really had a headache before. She wasn't a poorly child. She never complained. If she had pain, she'd never complain. So you wouldn't really know. So she really got a headache, Mum. So I was giving her paracetamol. And after 3 days, she said, "Oh, my headache's gone." I said, "Oh, that's brilliant." And she come downstairs and her face had dropped on one side. And I said, "Why are you smirking at me?" "I'm not smirking." "Well, you are, you're smirking." So she looked in the mirror. She went, "Oh my God, what's up with my face?" So we were laughing. We actually laughed. And I said, "I don't know." I said, "It looks like a bit of a facial palsy or something." So I'll just take a picture, send it to the doctor. She went, "Oh, you can't take a picture yet. I'm in my pyjamas." So, "Well, are you planning on getting out of your pyjamas today?" And she went, "Yeah, you got a point there." I said, "Well, we're going out later. We'll go out, get something to eat." So she said, "Right, okay, I'll get dressed then." I said, "Oh, just let me take a picture." So she sat in that chair behind me. I took a picture and sent it to the doctors. And very, very quickly they came back. And they rang me and they said, "What are you expecting us to say?" And I thought, "Do you mean what am I expecting you to say? You're the doctor. You tell me what you're going to say." "I'm not a bloody doctor." I said, "Well, she's got a facial palsy or something, and I don't know, just keep an eye on her." "No," he said, "could you take her to A&E now?" "Now? But we're busy." I was going in the gym. It'd take me 3 weeks to put my gym stuff on. I said, "Right, come on. I've got to take you to A&E. And she's going, "Oh, do we have to go?" And so, of course, we got there. There was still a few COVID restrictions. Well, there was quite a few COVID restrictions. This woman in front was complaining about sun, constipation. And, I'm thinking, what are you doing here? I thought, this is such a waste of time. And typical, in a rush, we just wanted to get this over and done with. And, and anyway, we went through. And we were seen pretty quickly. And then we were sent up to paediatric. And they said, "Yeah, we want to do a scan." She's, doctors have already rang us. I'm thinking, right, okay, really efficient of them. And we want to do a scan, but we've decided we also want to do an MRI scan. The scan machine's not available at the moment. I said, "That's all right, we'll come back tomorrow if you want us to," or later. They went, No, we'd rather you stay here so we can monitor her." I went, "Yeah, but her headache's gone now. She's all right." She's going, "Yeah, I want to go home." So she actually said, "I want to do my homework. I've got an assignment." She was a liar. She had no intentions of doing homework whatsoever. So still no alarm bells whatsoever. And they said, "Well, why can't we just go home?" This was later on at night. It's like 8 o'clock. I said, "We could be here within 20 minutes. Just ring us as soon as it's ready." They said, "No, because if it's ready in the middle of the night, we'll just take you straight in." So I thought, all right, okay. I accepted that. First thing in the morning, they came through and she went in for a scan. And we was on countdown then. Countdown. I think McDonald's was open. That's where I was going to take the day before. So she said, "Right, how long now till McDonald's?" So I said, "Right, get the results." And we was on a countdown. and texting Dad and whatnot. And then the nurse came through and said, could I just borrow you for a minute? She said, do you mind if I just take your mum a minute, Emily? And I just went, right, okay. So I said, won't be long, sweetheart. So she was lying on a bed on a DS or whatever. And the nurse was silent as we was walking through. There was nothing. And we was walking out of the little 4-bed ward and turning left into the doctor's room. And just as she opened the door, I went, is everything okay? And she went, no. And I just felt physically sick. I thought, I'm going to pass out in a minute. How can it not be okay? It's my daughter. So she sat me down. She said, right. She said, have you got anybody that can come to be with you? Where's Emily's dad? I said, he's at work. She said, okay, you're going to need to ring him. Emily has got a large tumour on her brain. I just felt, just felt sick. I didn't cry. I just sat in shock, really. I said, okay, I need to ring my husband. So I rang and I spoke to Lynn, who works for us, and I said, Lynn, can you just send Rob up? Can you bring him up? And she went, Karen, what's wrong? I went, Emily's got a brain tumour. Lynn never, ever cries. Lynn's the strongest person I know. Even she was crying. And he came up to the hospital in no time. But in the meantime, obviously I was panicking because Emily would be worried that she was sat on her own. That was my only concern. I said, she's on her own. I don't need her. How are you going to tell her? Do you want to wait? Do you want us to tell her? Or do you want Dad to tell her? I said, no. I said, I will tell her. So they brought Emily in. And I just said, I'm sorry, darling. I said, we're not going to get to McDonald's. We've got to go to another hospital. I said, they've just found a little lump on your head that we need to have checked out. And she just went, well, okay. She said, are you all right, Mum? I went, yeah, I'm fine. And then Rob come in. I repeated what I'd said to Emily for Rob. So Rob knew what I'd said. So then he was sat with Emily. So I just need to go to the toilet. And I remember going outside around my brother. And he just said, I'm coming. I'm on my way. And I rang my best friend, Joanne. And I remember sliding down the wall outside the doctor's room. Just sliding down the wall. Because Joanne's always been a strong person. She's the only one that takes no notice of my drama. A little bit dramatic sometimes. And Joanne just grounds me and brings me down. And she was just sobbing. And you said, it could be okay. It could be something and nothing. It could be something we can operate on. We don't know what it is yet. We're just, at that moment in time, it was just the fact that she had something in her head. We didn't know what it was. It was just something in my girl's head that shouldn't have been there. And she wasn't even poorly. So then, straight down to Manchester Children's, waited around for quite a while until she started to be sick, and then they dealt with her. We was put in this room that was like purple, and it was like being inside Barney, that great big dinosaur. It's like just being inside Barney. So we eventually got onto the ward. The staff were okay. Felt very isolated, very alone. Rob had to go home. He couldn't come onto the ward because of COVID. So there was just me and Em. And you just have to have your game face on. I had my game face on for 2.5 years. I just didn't want her to be scared. And she seemed okay. She was just pissed off that she wasn't not at home. And the food was rubbish. So I think we had some tea and toast in bed together. And we had the telly, so we watched some Gavin and Stacey. Just tried anything to keep us calm. Just said, let's get a good night's sleep now. So I was on the camp bed at the side of her. And I've never cried silently before. Just cried and cried and cried all night with no noise because I didn't want to wake her. And I went down to the end of the corridor to try and use my phone because there was no service. And I told Joanne, I can't speak to anybody. Only you be the go-between for everybody, because my priority is Emily. And I've got to just be with her 100%. I don't want to be texting people, answering people or anything. I said, I will just communicate through you. Obviously, family was a bit different. To tell Niall and my mum, my brother, he was keeping them in touch. I don't know how we got through them days. Didn't find much compassion, I'll be really honest, with the nursing staff that night. The cleaner came the next morning and he just said, "What's the matter? Are you okay? Come on. If you don't know anything yet, this was the cleaner. He was lovely. He was a lovely, lovely man." But then, after breakfast and stuff, she had to go on anti-sick. She was being sick, which was something to do with the tumour. So things sort of all moved into place then. And it was like I met the specialist team, the brain surgeon, the specialist, Anita, this specialist nurse, who sort of coordinated the brain team and stuff. She was amazing. And it was like everything got put into place, and I felt from that moment, I felt a lot better because I had support. And then she had other scans, and then I had the meeting with the brain surgeon, and he said to him it didn't look the shape of it, something nasty, and he was quite confident that where it was, he said, because the nerves weren't going through tumour, they were going round it, that they could remove a bulk of the tumour. So when they went into a brain, they wasn't just going to do a biopsy, they was going to do a bulk removal at the same time, and it needed to be done quick. I said, right, okay. So, and he said, and after that, be a few days and we'll find the results as to what it is. So couple of days, few more scans, this, that and the other, and that was it. She was in for surgery. And Rob was allowed to come in very early in the morning, and we was allowed to both walk down with her to the theatre, but then only I was allowed to go in, only one of us. She said she didn't want to be wheeled down. She said, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just going to walk. Why do I need to be wheeled? Should have got legs. So she just went in the toilet on the way. She said, I'll go for a wee. She come out. She did swear a little bit at this stage. She said, you can't believe it. Come on, me effing period. So then I was thinking, oh, God, are they not going to do it? So no problem. Went sorted something out for her, and she was, I can't believe this. Moaning all the way down because she was on a period. Then we went into the room. She had the anaesthetic. It was something like 10 hours, the operation. And they said, we'll ring you halfway just to let you know. So keep your phone on you. We'll just ring you to let you know all about Emily and how she's doing, and leave her in our capable hands now. So she did the talk down. Like when you usually count back from 5 to 0 or something, and so he just said they were going to do that. She said, what's your favourite pizza, Emily? She'd go, pepperoni, and that was it. That was the last thing she remembered. Oh God, that was a long day. So there's very little phone reception in and around the hospital, so we sat on this rock hard chair that they had that got the best reception, and just sat looking at our phones. If anybody rang us, we said, just go away, can't ring us today, sorry, we're waiting for calls. And that's all we did all day, just sat and waited, and it was horrific. They rang halfway through and said she was doing fantastic. All stats were good, and they were proceeding with removal. And they rang me again, said they'd done removal, and she'd be shortly being put back together and then go into recovery. So I thought that meant, all right, that's 10 hours then. I didn't know then it'd be like at least another couple of hours recovery. They'd already warned us, be prepared that she will lose the left-hand side movement. She will get it back, but, well, she should get it back, but be prepared. So we said, right, okay, you can't really prepare yourself for that. Not with everything else that's going through your head. So we walked into recovery and she waved with her left hand. So that was a pint of my glass to get a chair under me. Because I didn't want to. I was like holding onto the bed and the nurse could see, and she just put a chair behind me. She could just see what was about to happen. They were absolutely fantastic, that team. As were majority of the teams, but I didn't want her to be scared seeing her mum collapse on the floor. I knew that I could not. I just had to hold it together. And she said, take a picture of my head. I want to see a picture of it. I said, what are it? Of my stitches, take a picture of it. So Dad's trying to take a picture. I'll get it clearer. Is it bleeding? Is there much blood? Oh, there's no blood, Emily. Like, all right, okay. She's so gory. And she was great. I'll skip over the time in ICU. They weren't a good time, but we'll skip over that bit. People upset her in there. Got back onto the ward. We had a few funny issues. Because we got her up out of bed, she wanted to go to the toilet. The catheter had been taken out, so helped to get onto the commode. And I didn't put the bottom of the commode in. And I was chatting away to the nurses, and she's going, Mum, 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 Mum. Of course, I ignored her because I was busy chatting. And then she weed on my feet, on my new slippers. I thought it was hilarious. So everybody thought it was hilarious. So then it was she soon changed her mind because then I said, oh, this is a good time to shower you then, isn't it? Well, she didn't like showering at the best of times. So took her in to be showered. And then I had to clean the wee up myself when we come back. It was still there. Got her back into bed, got her comfortable. It was all right. She was recovering well. Wanted to go home, obviously, but I was a bit scared of going home. I felt safer there. And then this Scottish guy come round, and they'd warned me that the main man was Scottish, and don't be worried that if he comes round, because he likes to see everybody. And he was Professor Kildare, and he was called JP. Called him JP. And he introduced himself. Really lovely, softly spoken man. Instantly, Emily loved JP. And he said, we need to have a discussion. We need to chat. And I just need to ask you, Emily, do you want to be in the discussion? Yeah, my head. And he looked at me, and that look was enough. So he said, could your husband come today? Could he come this morning? I said, he's actually on his way. And we were being really naughty because it was COVID restrictions. But I'd not seen my son. And he wanted to see his sister. And Rob was bringing up our son Niall. And we was going to take Emily out in the wheelchair and go and meet them downstairs in Subway. Then the kids could both have a Subway each. And we could have a little bit of normality off the ward. So he was on the way, both of them. So I said, yeah. He said, right, okay, they'll page me as soon as they get here. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait that long. I needed to know there and then. So I said to Emily, right, I'm going to go and have a quick shower. She went, right, okay. And she was fine. She was watching TV. And I went and found a nurse and said, I need to know now. I can't wait. And she went, no, you can't when you're waiting for bad news. And I thought, oh, it is bad news then. And she said, Emily shouldn't be there when you get this news. Right, okay. And they took me into a room called a lavender room, big lavender mural, and I hated that room. Hated it from that second on. And then they told me it was about as bad as it could get. It was stage 4, and there was a very nasty gene within it. They called it a little bit of protein. It was evil. So it took it from being a stage 3 to a stage 2/3 to a stage 4. And I can't really remember much more other than just being in total shock. And then everything happened very quickly then. I just wanted to get back to Em. No game face was on, then Rob arrived, and the brother arrived, and Niall arrived, and then there was all this row that people weren't allowed in because of COVID, and they wouldn't let them on the ward. And in stepped Anita, and within minutes they were in the lavender room with Emily and Niall. On the front of the room it said on the door, maximum 4 people in this room. I think there was about 100 of us. Rob wasn't good. Rob took it very, very hard. And Emily was trying to make him feel better, because when she walked in, he was sobbing. And she sat next to him and looked after him. And that was it. For 2.5 years, that's what she did. She looked after us. She asked, "Can you cure it?" He said, "No, Emily." He said, "We can try things. They won't be nice. They'll be difficult. Just do it." He said, "We'll do 6 weeks of radiotherapy. You go into a machine and you'll have your things from, right, yeah, just do it. Just organise it. Let's do it." And then he said, "We don't usually, for this type of tumour, we don't usually do chemotherapy, but if you're willing, we try a very high dose of chemotherapy for 12 months. Yeah, shit, that's fine." He said, "Do you want to know more about it?" "No, that's fine. That's okay." And he said, "And we'll have regular meetings. Do you want to be in the meetings?" "Yes, every one of them." So he said, "Right, okay, let's get things organised." He said, "When can I go home?" So you can go home today. So we weren't expecting. So we went home, had a nice evening, early night, got up the next morning. I slept with her. You know, and she had a double bed. I slept on the double bed, and Rob put a mattress on the floor next to our bed so we could all be together, because he'd been apart during all this, like 14 days, he'd been apart from us. We Team Kinsella, we do things together. She went into the bathroom on the first morning and looked in the mirror. And then her first seizure happened. It's horrific. So, screaming for Niall to ring the ambulance. It was on a hard tiled floor and I was scared of her damaging her head where her surgery was. It was just horrific. So then I passed out. So then the ambulance unit came and they had to ring for another ambulance to me. Told you it was dramatic. Rob shouting at me because I passed out. It was chaos. Absolute chaos. So she had to be taken. They was taking her to Manchester Children's because that's where they knew everything about her, and they said they would do that. And she had another seizure. And she had another one in the ambulance. And they said they couldn't take her there. They had to go to the nearest hospital. In the meantime, I had another group of paramedics working on me, and Rob was in the ambulance with her. And they took her to our local hospital, Stepping Hill at Stockport. So she was okay. They put her on drugs to stop the seizures, and they said it is a side effect of the brain tumour. They wanted me to go into hospital, but I point blank refused. I had to sign. So I had my sister-in-law to come and look after me. And my brother came back as well. He'd only just gone home. So they fed me because I've just not eaten right. It was just everything all at once. So I was ringing Rob. I need to come. And Rob was going through hell because she had further seizures in A&E. And he went, no, everything's fine. She's fine. And I'm going to stay here overnight with her. And only one of us can stay. And that's going to be me. And she's really comfortable. And she's having something to eat. She's having some cake and custard and blah, blah, blah. And he just put my mind at rest. He said, everything's fine. It wasn't, but that's what he told me. And he did say for me to go, but he made the decision that I couldn't. I think he liked the fact that he could actually do something as to be sat at home feeling absolutely helpless. So we went to Christie's, she came home, she's on drugs then for seizures, and she was on them for the rest of her life. She never had another full-blown seizure. They kept it under control. So we went to Christie's. She loved Christie's Manchester. Absolutely loved it. When we first walked in, we was in the waiting room. There was kids going round. She didn't like kids. She really didn't like kids. And there was this one going round on the bike, little tricycle, and she didn't like the fact that I used to talk to all the kids. Oh, what you playing? I'm playing kitchens and come let's play with you. She go, don't speak to the kids. And in walks the Teenage Cancer Trust nurse, Angie, and said, what are you doing sat in here? This isn't a place for you. She said, do you want to go somewhere better? That was it. It was instant. She just loved her. Absolutely loved her. She took her to the teenage lounge and that was it. Em's area. Took over it. So visits to Christie's were good. She had an hour's head scan and to have a mask made. And he was talking to her before the mask being made. Oh, it's really difficult. You feel claustrophobic. Well, she loved it. She loved the machines and the actual radiotherapy machine. She said, this is awesome, because we went in to look at it. She went, oh, I can't wait to get on that. And is it going to zap my brain? What's that smell? Is it the smell of brain burning? She was all these things she was like making notes of because she was going to use them. It was ammunition. It was material to use on her Uncle Anthony, because he was really squeamish and she loved making him squirm. A few days later, it was going to start and she did this on her head, and her head was like a hot water bottle. It was, forehead was up here. And she's going, should your head do that, Mum? And I'm like, be sick. I'll be sick. And she went, I think it's leaking. I said, why do you think it's leaking, Em? She said, because there's a load of fluid on my pillow. I'm like, oh, shit. So I mentioned it to them, right, bring her in straight away. Yeah. The surgeon's waiting for her at Manchester Children's, Demetrius, really dishy. I used to wind her up with saying that because she'd go, Mum, for God's sake, I only did it to wind her up, but it is nice. So we got there, seen straight away, no messing about. And they went, yeah, I'm going to have to stitch your head, Emily, with no anaesthetic. Right, go on then. I said, well, I'm just warning you. Yeah, just get it done. I said, do you want to hold your mum's hand? So everybody turned around to and I'm in the corner like, better not hold mum's hand. Fine. So Anita was there. You can hold my hand. So she loved Anita. She loved anybody I loved because she knew if I felt safe with them, that she did. So they stitched her head. And then they syringed it, and they syringed the fluid. And as he was going out, she said, oh, Demetrius, is that brain juice? He went, what? He said, is that brain juice? Emily, nobody's ever asked that. He said, yes, I suppose it is. Yeah, she went, all right, okay, just wait to know. So then she whispered to me, do you think I could have some of that? What the hell are you going to do with brain juice, Em? Just white some. No, no, you can't have any brain juice. They've got to test it. Right, she could get some more off. I went, no, leave it. Back to Christie's. We came out, so she was on steroids. She was on seizure tablets. She was on a low dose of chemotherapy. She just took whatever tablets you give her, 30-odd tablets a day, she just took them. I did the chemotherapy at home before we went for the radiotherapy, an hour before. Food, you couldn't have food, and then she could have food afterwards. So when she come out, if you've ever been on steroids, you know you are hungry, really, really hungry. So she'd not eaten, but had all that, all the tablets in her. We had to drive straight to McDonald's, where she had 2 double whoppers with cheese, fries, mozzarella dippers, and a raspberry ripple milkshake or ice cooler. Yeah, and she ate a lot. Yeah, because she was on steroids, I had to eat as well, and I had a Big Mac every day, and just got fatter and fatter. That went really well. Then she was to start the chemotherapy. She finished that. She was having scans. There were unbelievable people. Dr. Pam, she was the most softly spoken, most lovely little petite doctor. She was absolutely one of the nicest people I've ever met. The nurses, every single nurse at that place is special. And then she had Ange. Then we had to go back to Manchester Children's. She didn't like it there. The only reason she didn't like it, she loved JP, she loved Dan McMillan, nurse Jo. She didn't at the time. She didn't like Jo at the time. She didn't get on with her at the first. She was just being awkward. So you had to sit and wait for hours and hours and hours for your appointments. But it didn't matter, because when you got in, you had the undivided attention of the best person in the whole of the UK to look after you. So it's something you put up with. And we always said, so do you remember, Emily, when we needed him in that lavender room and he stayed with us for hours explaining over and over again? There was a massive clinic full of people waiting for him, but he still had time for us. And that's what we used to remind ourselves about when we waited. We got into a routine now. There was loads of delays starting the chemo because she got shingles. There was a bleed on her brain, which we had to keep having scanned. So when eventually she started on the chemo. And one of her favourite stories is the first round of chemo that she had. Because I'm quite methodical and I like to have things ready. So I'd put all the chemo into piles. Yeah. One pile had fallen into another, unbeknownst to me, and I overdosed her on the first day. She was very, very poorly. And I'd realised what I'd done. I emptied the bin, tipped it all out, and counted all the chemotherapy things, and went into total meltdown. I rang the ward and they said, has she been sick? I said, how soon was she sick? So I explained all that. They went, you're not the first person and you won't be the last person to do it. It's not a problem. You just give her less tomorrow and she'll be fine. So then I had to go and tell her, oh my God, did she hold that against me for the rest of her life? She told everybody she could, you know, my mum's overdosed me, nearly killed me. Yes. So yeah, that was one of her little stories that she liked to share with people. So then I did 12 months, never overdosed her ever again, but she never mentioned that. So she had 12 months of very, very strong chemotherapy, and she just kicked its ass. She didn't care. It's not beating me, this. Numerous scans, positive scans. Yeah, he was shrinking. He was working. The radiotherapy had a massive effect on the tumour. They were very happy and very positive. Every 2 weeks we went to see JP, and very positive. And we was in a false sense of security, really. The odd times that Emily then had gone out of the room and I had to go back in for something, I had a realisation. I had it brought back down to earth and said, you do know it's not going to go away. You do know it will be back. You do know it's stage 4. You do know it will kill her. So I decided never to let Emily go out the room, so I didn't have to have them conversations. And I actually thought, do you know what? Our Macmillan nurse don't do much for us. So we don't get any, special treatment. We should, why isn't our Macmillan nurse doing anything for us? I didn't realise till we needed the Macmillan nurse just how much they do for us, how much they did for us, because we didn't need them then. But oh my God, did they spring into action when we did need them? And it all made sense then. And then we bonded with Jo, the Macmillan nurse. She was lovely. There was always somebody available to text if you needed, always somebody. But we was Team Kinsella. We became very close. We became just us that needed each other. We tried to do as much as we could. Going out, she loved Casper's desserts. I'd take her there. She'd eat so much shit. Waffles with, I don't know how she ate them. I still don't know how she ate what she ate. And we had good days, we had bad days, but mostly good days. We had a few little holidays with Bestielle. Melania was brilliant. She just acted normal. There was no preferential treatment. We tried to get on a trial drug when she'd finished the chemo, but they wouldn't accept us because they said that the tumour had to have regrowth. Basically, we had to wait, take the risk of it growing in a place where there was absolutely no chance whatsoever. We had to take that risk. And then she was struggling eating. And I just said, something not right. And she knew it wasn't right. She'd been holding it back from me till she couldn't hold it back any longer. And we had to go for a scan. And we had to wait something like 18 hours in A&E, which is not fair. It's a different story, isn't it? Got a scan. And they said, oh, JP doesn't want you to go home. I said, well, why can't we go home and then just come back tomorrow? Again, not even sinking into my thick head. No, JP wants you to stay. He really wants you to stay. And I thought, and Rob just said to me, Karen, JP says it, we're staying. I went, right. Took me and Em into the room for the scan result. You know you're getting bad news when numerous people come in the room. So Macmillan was there, Jo, JP, and another doctor. It was back. The original tumour was back, and it brought a mate with it as well. The second one was in the worst place possible. And they said there was nothing, absolutely nothing they could do. That was with them sat there. And she actually said, will anything work on it? And he said, no, Em. It will. So, it then came back and said, it's spoken with Christie's, and Christie's wanted to try a very short course of radiation to buy us time to source this drug that we'd been turned down on. So then we went along avenues of trying to get that sourced, and we were turned down then because there was 2 tumours and not one. Turned down by, I think that was Netherlands. Switzerland said no. Miami was just, we didn't even bother because they'd take too long to answer and she'd be dead before they'd even answer. But there was a chance in Paris because I spoke to a man in Paris whose son had died. And he was an absolute massive help because he gave me everything that I needed to get straight through to the person in Paris that I needed. JP said, oh yeah, I know him. I'm like, what? Why haven't you spoke to him before? And if we'd have been in the EU, we'd have got it for free. We could have already been on it. And anyway, we went straight to Christie's to start on the radiotherapy. First day was okay. and then things deteriorated rapid, and she ended up in ICU. Long story short, she ended up in ICU, and we had 3 end-of-life conversations. Specialist JP wasn't in, other people were there, didn't gel with the other people, but that's a different story. Said they wouldn't resuscitate her, and this was it. This was the end. She was struggling to breathe. She was on the maximum amount of oxygen, and she was just going to die. And the nurses were amazing. They said, "We think she's just tired. Everything she's on is making her tired. She's not slept in 4 days." She said, "Radiotherapy, this girl is exhausted." And she couldn't cough. She couldn't get the fluid off her lungs. So they decided to suck the fluid off her lungs. He said, "Emily, can you tolerate this? Can you give us?" And she just went like that. She couldn't speak anymore. She couldn't eat, obviously. She was on fluids. He said, "Are you sure you can tolerate it?" And she just kept going like that. So instead of doing it every hour, they was doing it every 20 minutes. And they sucked the fluid off her lungs. And I was in a bit of a state by this stage. Rob was in a state, obviously, you can imagine, just trying to hold it together in ICU. The girls were just brilliant. And then all young girls. Awesome they were. And they were determined. Then it was their determination and Em's determination that got us through that. When they said she was going to die, she didn't. She walked out of ICU. But one day, just whitened. I hadn't slept in about 3 days. I wasn't eating very much. Good for the diet. Rob insisted I went to the parents' room that we had. He said, "You need to go upstairs to the parents' room because you would have no use to Emily. She's stable now." You know, she was still on all the machines and everything. She was still on oxygen at this time. But she was sort of turning the corner. They said, "Please, will you go and sleep?" Or, there was a bed in the room, but I wasn't sleeping. I was just sat watching her, lying next to her, lying on her. I had Taylor Swift on. The girls put Taylor Swift on for her. So we had music on. Let her brother come and visit. And a friend. It was Howard. So they told me I had to go out and I had to go to the room to sleep. I don't know what happened. I think I had about an hour or so, and then I said, I can't sleep anymore. So Rob left food with me, and he said, "You've got to eat that and sleep. How can you do that?" So I rang about an hour later. I said, "Can I come back?" I said, "I need to come back." He said, "Yeah, on one condition, you go to sleep. We've set your bed, a proper bed up next to her." So I went back, and then Rob went up to the room to sleep. And apparently, because it's black, when there was no windows or anything, he turned the light off and he put his hand under the pillow, because the pillow's like that thick. So you try and put your hand under to get a bit more. And apparently there was a mince pie with a bite out of it under the pillow. And he come back through, he went, "Did you have a mince pie?" I went, "No." He went, "Well, there was a mince pie under the pillow with a bite out of it." I didn't even remember having a mince pie, biting it, and certainly didn't remember putting it under the pillow. That's how totally and utterly gone I was of any normality whatsoever. So then there was on rota duty, who's going to feed more, and all I could eat was Rice Krispies. Just at Rice Krispies. They just kept bringing me bowls of Rice Krispies. And I managed to sleep a little bit. And then I woke up and she went, the nurse said, Karen. I said, what's the matter? She went, "Karen, look at the machine." And I looked and went, look at Emily, and the oxygen was off. She just went, she had no oxygen on. She was breathing on her own. I said, when did you do that? She said, I waited till you was asleep just to make sure there was no trauma. Then she couldn't talk, but the talking come back. Then they got her out of bed the next day, and oh my God, she was just like a sack of spuds. And then I remember Joe Page coming in, I'm at Milliners, and she said to Rob, she said, Are you surprised? Has she surprised you? No. He said, you know her, you should know better, Joe. It's Emily we're dealing with. She went, yeah, you're right. So we had to stay in hospital still, and we had to be transported every day to have the remainder of her chemotherapy. And on the last day, Christie's opened up early, opened the room up, the radiotherapy room up early, got her done, and we drove to Paris to get her the drugs. We got the funds together, got the appointment, we got there, tried to make her look well. Come on, don't look ill, put some makeup on, pretending this is look really well. You got to show that you're well enough to take this drug. And we got the prescription for 1 month. We had to go back the month after to get another month for the poorly child. It's just crazy. But we did it. We stayed at Ronald McDonald House on campus. It was good, and then we drove back the next day. And it's a little adventure. Yeah. It was our Paris road trip. We made it fun for her. The next one was fun. Scan. It wasn't working, but it was early days. Just sat back. I said, right, we know it takes so long to work. We'll keep taking it. And then we knew it wasn't working. We could see the same deterioration, not being able to swallow. We were due to go back to Paris to get 3 months' worth. And I went into a room. By this stage, I wasn't sleeping with her because I was doing her head in. She refused to let me be in the room, but we had a doorbell that she could press. The bell was on the floor. She dropped it and she couldn't get to it, and she was on the floor. She'd lost the use of the left-hand side. And that was the beginning of the end, really. Without going into all of it, just everything started to shut down. We decided we wasn't going to go to Paris until about 10:30 that night, and she said, I want to go. We lifted her into the car and propped her up. Then we got her to Paris to another prescription, and they gave us 4 months. Around 20,000 euros or something like that. But it was hell on earth. Absolute hell. What they had to go through. But she was at home. She wanted to be at home. I had hospice staff coming in to help me from Darien House. They were amazing. The Macmillan team were amazing. Physio team were amazing. They helped me. Brought me a hoist. That didn't go down well. But we had some good days. We had some funny days. She laughed. She entertained us. Her language back this, it was just brilliant. It was so funny. Every day the nurses came in and they had to have a lecture on what they was allowed to ask her and what they weren't allowed to ask her. And even the nurses have said they've learned so much for Emily in those last few weeks on how to treat other teenagers. She was brilliant. They used to come in and say, how's your day today? How the fuck do you think my day's been? The same as yesterday, Groundhog Day. What do you think I've done? I've fucking been anywhere. So I had to say, Emily, please stop swearing. But it made it fun. It made it easier. We watched everything we was watching together. lay together. Just made her as comfortable and not scared. Just didn't want to be scared. Nobody can prepare you. As much as you know that your child is going to die, nobody can prepare you. It's not like on the telly where they just say goodbye, close their eyes. It's not. It's heartbreaking. You lose everything in front of you, and as a mum, you should be able to make them better. You should be able to fix them. And I couldn't fix my girl. She had the stats thing on her finger with the numbers going down. No amount of oxygen, no amount of meds, no amount of nothing. Take no amount of love. Didn't get to see her eyes again. Her eyes were closed. She had beautiful eyes. I never got to see her eyes again. Who was there next to her? But the dad, brother. Was gone. The 12 months. I still can't believe she's gone. I don't know how we get through the days. We do. Well, we'll continue to do so. She would go fucking mad if we didn't. I will see her again one day.
I just don't think that you say the words and they don't feel real. There was so much there in Emily's stories. Sorry, let me just shows so much strength and so much that we could all learn about life. Her humour and just the way that she just takes everything in her stride and just fights, and how we as parents have to find strength that we never thought we had.
When you're doing it, you don't know his strength. You're just on automatic pilot, and it's not until after you think, how the hell did we get through the things that happened in those last 3 weeks? How did we get through each individual thing? But we did. I remember at 3 a.m. having to use the suction machine on her and go deeper and deeper into her lungs to try and to give her a little bit of ease. You shouldn't have to do that to your daughter, to your child.
No, it's so tough. And to do those things, knowing that they're going to die, knowing that everything is so hard for them and that we're inflicting pain on them, but we can't stop it. And it's making that choice to turn every moment into a positive, fun moment, because we did have fun times.
Yeah.
You know, you were saying about when Emily went into ICU back in December. It was a few days after, I think, Emily had made her miraculous recovery that you and I met, you and I first had contact via text. I think I'd found your story online and I'd stalked you on Facebook and sent you a message, and you and I started talking. And it was from that moment that we found the strength in each other, I think, because Bradley and Emily were both following very similar patterns then, weren't they? But, you know, I remember us sending videos and conversations to each other of some real fun moments and enjoying times, and it just all seems so surreal, doesn't it? Like, I don't know, it's just horrific, isn't it? the things that we have to go through. That shouldn't be the case for anybody. It's really tough, but Emily's definitely an inspiration. You said that yourself, that the Macmillan nurses learned so much from her, which will help them, which will help others, and that's amazing.
It was the district nurse team that came in to help, but she didn't want the help. She wouldn't let anybody else change her or wash her or anything, but they helped me change the sheets every day. They was allowed to do that, and then she was on the driver, and it had to change every day because her skin kept swelling up with it. And they said that now they ask young adults, do you want us to ask you how you are every day? Do you want us to do this? Do you want us to do that at the beginning of their care? Because they said they'd never done that before. They just went in with what they were supposed to do, and what they were supposed to do wasn't right for Emily. So maybe it's not right for others as well.
No, that's amazing, that Emily's been able to make that change for people. But no, that was a really heartbreaking share of Emily's story there, and of everything that you all went through. I think you encapsulated a lot of how the whole family feels and how difficult it is, and just trying to find that balance between looking after yourself and looking after them, maintaining some normality while life is still here, and at the same time as preparing yourself for the future and what's to come. And it's just so incredibly difficult, and I'm just I'm so sorry that we both end up here in this situation, and that's what we had to go through.
So over the next few months we can cover more of what happened in, I wouldn't say a lighter moments, but there's so much, and hopefully that can help other people say, yeah, we went through that, and if people can share with us how it helped them, what did or didn't help them, I think that would be brilliant for others.
Yeah. You never actually said what diagnosis Emily has. What was it that Emily was diagnosed with? As much as it was a brain tumour, was her first tumour different to her second?
No, it was just in an easier place to get to. Yeah. It was I can't remember what it was called.
Grade 4 diffuse midline glioma.
That's it, DMG. I'm not very good with letters. I get them all mixed up these days. I don't know why.
Yeah. How much it changes them, and how much it affects them, and how much of their identity that they lose. They don't lose their personality, they still remain them, but their identity in terms of their physicality and their abilities really changed and impacted. And that's super tough for them, but they just blow you away, don't they, with how brave they are.
Yeah. So proud.
Super proud. Right, we'll end that here.
Okay.
Today. Thank you. I'm not going to do the sign off this week. Don't really feel like I want to. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.